Assalamualaikum and hi, we are from Group 4 and today we would like to present on our chosen poem, Hurricane Hits England by Grace Nichols. First, we will start off with the summary of this poem. In Hurricane Hits England, a storm disrupts the speaker's sense of alienation in a foreign land, reconnecting her with her Caribbean heritage. The poem explores themes of dual identity, unhomeliness, decolonization, and cultural memory. Now we will move on to the first point, which is unhomeliness. From this poem, it can be seen that the speaker feels disconnected with the new country she lives in. It is also important to note that the context behind this poem is about an immigrant living in a new country. The author of the poem herself, Grace Nichols, is an immigrant that migrated from Guyana, a country in South America, to England. So, the hurricane in this poem reminds the speaker of the country that she originated from, where storm often occurs. The first example that we can see is from the 7th line of the first stanza, fearful and reassuring. This shows that while the storm is usually considered as a scary natural phenomenon, it somehow brings a sense of home and calmness to the speaker. The second example is also from the first stanza. It took a hurricane to bring her closer to the landscape. What we can see from this is that the speaker has been feeling detached from her unknown surroundings, and it took a hurricane to help her break past the unknown.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurfatin Shoya binti Muhammad. So moving on to our next point, which is hybridity. So hybridity basically, in simple words, is dual identity. So at first, the speaker experiences the struggles of diaspora, which is living far from her homeland, and she's trying to make sense of her identity in a new place, so that the hurricane forces her to confront these feelings, and she realizes that she can carry her heritage with her even in England. And so the phrases say, "Oh, why is my heart unchained?" means that the speaker expresses a sudden and intense emotional reactions. So the phrase unchained here suggests that the hurricane has unlocked feelings she had suppressed all this time, possibly tied to her cultural roots, identity, or memories of home. So this emotional release shows how the hurricane has a transformative power over her, freeing her from feelings of detachment or alienation in England. Next, the line of tropical Oya of the weather. Oya is basically a goddess from the religion in West Africa, associated with storm, swing, and transformation. So by invoking Oya, the speaker is actually connected to her African Caribbean heritage, emphasizing the spiritual and cultural depth of her reaction to the hurricane. So this line highlights the postcolonial theme of reclaiming indigenous spirituality and cultural identity. Okay, next line, when the speaker said, "I am aligning myself to you," he actually expresses a sense of unity with the hurricane and what it represents. Like by aligning herself with Oya and the storm, she actually acknowledged the power of her cultural heritage, and she begins to accept it as part of her identity even in the unfamiliar landscape of England, because England is basically very rare to have hurricane, but very common in Africa. So this alignment symbolizes reconciliation with her dual identity, which she is embracing both her Caribbean past and her present life in England. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Puteri Adina Safia binti Muhammad Sawi, matrix number 2316656. Now we move on to the cultural memory part of Grace Nichols' poem, Hurricane Hits England. This poem beautifully explores how the speaker's experience of a storm connects her to her Caribbean heritage, highlighting the persistence of cultural identity even in an unfamiliar environment. Here, the hurricane in this poem is not just a physical phenomenon, it symbolizes the speaker's connection to her cultural roots. So Nichols began by invoking the names Hurricanes, Oya, and Shango, who are directly associated with the storm and natural force in African tradition. These names carry significant cultural weight, serving as a direct link between the speaker and her heritage. By calling out to these deities, the speaker acknowledged the hurricane as a powerful reminder of where she comes from, even while standing on English land. The presence of the hurricane on the English coast is symbolic, actually, and hurricanes are typically associated with where the speaker originates, making its appearance in England both startling and deeply meaningful. So here for the speaker, the storm served as a bridge between two worlds, her homeland and the foreign land she now inhabits. It brings her a sense of familiarity and reconnection to the natural force that shaped her identity. So the author, Grace Nicole, captured this feeling of connection in the line, "Tell me why you visit an English course." This question reflects the speaker's initial disorientation and curiosity. Why has this powerful and familiar force that's so tied to her Caribbean experience appear in a place where she feels disconnected? So it's mean the hurricane's arrival becomes a moment of cultural and emotional reconciliation. It reminds her that while she may feel alienated in this new land, her heritage is always with her. So the hurricane also reinforced the idea that cultural memory transcends geography. Even though the speaker is far from the Caribbean, the storm brings a sense of continuity. It reminds her of the stories, beliefs, and traditions she grew up with. So this connection is deeply comforting. It is as though the hurricane has brought a piece of home to her, allowing her to embrace her heritage even in a foreign environment. So in this poem, Hurricane Hit England, Grace Nicole used the storm as a powerful metaphor for cultural memory. The hurricane bridged the gap between the speaker's past and present, reminding her that her identity is not confined to a single place. Here it showed that cultural memory is enduring, uniting the speaker with her root no matter where she is. Through this poem, Grace Nicole beautifully illustrated how our heritage shapes who we are and stay with us no matter where life takes us. That's all from me. I will pass to the next person.
Okay, now moving on to the last point, which is decolonization that is depicted through the hurricane, which used as a symbol of resistance against colonialism. Let's start with the stanza 1, line 4 and 5 of the poem. The howling sheep of the wind, its gathering rage. Here, the use of imagery like sheep make a connection to the colonial history. As we all know, during colonization, ships were very important as they were used by colonizers to travel across oceans, invading other people's land and take control over it. Hence, ships become a symbol of power and domination. However, in this poem, the ship is not controlled by colonizers. Instead, it is a sheep of the wind, which used as a symbol to say that a natural power which no one can control. This ship is full of rage and its power built as it moves. Meaning to say that the hurricane here represents resistance against colonialism. It is like a voice of protest from nature itself that challenging the system of oppression that colonization created.
It is unstoppable and uncontrollable force, which shows that colonial power is not as strong as it seems. By using the shape of the wind, instead of saying that it is symbol of colonial power, in this sense it transforms it into a symbol of resistance and liberation. Now let's look at the last line of the last stanza of this poem. The earth is the earth is the earth. This line seems quite simple, but it's actually rooted with a deep meaning. This line is suggesting that the idea, the earth is the same everywhere you go. No matter where you are, the ground beneath your feet is still the same earth. This challenges the colonial idea that some lands are better than others. This is because colonizers often believed that their land, culture, and people were superior to those they colonized. They thought that their way of life was more advanced and used this belief to justify taking over other people's place. But the persona here rejects this idea. By repeating the earth is the earth is the earth, she reminds us that all land and people are equal. No land is more important and no culture is more valuable. This line pushes back against the divisions created by colonialism, which separate the world into superior and inferior lands. Finally, the fact that the hurricane also can happen in England is very important because England was one of the most powerful colonial nations. It controlled many lands around the world, including the persona's home, the Caribbean. By bringing the hurricane to England, the persona shows that colonial history cannot be ignored. The hurricane connects England, the colonizer, with the Caribbean and also the colonized people. It forced the idea that England have to face the consequence of its colonial actions and reminds us that the effects of colonialism are still present till today.
In conclusion, the poem Hurricane Hits England can be analyzed through postcolonial assumptions such as unhomeliness, hybridity, cultural memory, and finally decolonization. That's all from us. Thank you.